where Ethiopia is today, it is because of the poison of the tribalism roots that were implemented a long time ago. And so today, I want to talk about Ethiopia. But in order for me to draw the line and to address my thoughts and my heart about Ethiopia, I need also to talk about Rwanda and what I learned from Rwanda. So why Ethiopia? Ethiopia because first of all, first time when I started this mission, when I started this movement, I actually launched One Africa movement in Ethiopia. This is the very first country in Africa that I visited apart from my own country. You know, I went there within a single year. I went there like 4 times, and I received a lot of love, a lot of support. And every time that I don't talk about Ethiopia, I get a lot of messages, a lot of DMs, a lot of requests, a lot of emails as well to talk about it, because the nature of this beautiful and great country of Ethiopia is that it's always in tension. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have a tension today and it will end. And the next month you'll have another tension. So there's always breaking news in Ethiopia. And sadly, I would say not always a good news that is happening there. So all the time you find people, crying, people feeling hopeless and helpless about the situation that is happening in the ground. And, through different researches that I've done and my friends that I've spoken to for a couple of years right now, I'll say like 3 years, right? I came to realize, and visiting there a couple of times, I came to realize that the root of the issues and the problems that are happening in this great country is tribalism, is tribes. In Ethiopia, if you're not aware, different regions are divided according to their tribes, and therefore it's very difficult to actually talk and to really ignore about tribes in Ethiopia. If you go to Addis Ababa, things are a little bit different. All kind of people, all kind of tribes are living together. There's not much tension there, and you could see that it's very peaceful and it's wonderful, it's beautiful. But when you go deep, inside different regions, then you'll find there's this issue. And I think the way for us to solve this, the way for us to put to an end of this madness that is happening, not only in Ethiopia, but in some parts of Africa as well, we first and foremost need to talk about it, talk about the issues that we're facing, and we need to figure out the solution. So my purpose of me being here today, I have 2 or 3 things that I want to talk about. The first thing, I want to remind Ethiopia, all my brothers and sisters across the world, I want to remind you who you really are, because I always talk about these 5 questions that I learned from Maurice Monroe that will really transform the entire being of your life. And this 5th question is who are you, your identity. And when you look at Ethiopia and we're talking about who is Ethiopia, you realize that back in the days, even before this continent were called Africa, you have this ocean of the Mediterranean Ocean, this side of Ghana, this side of like the western side of Africa, this Mediterranean Sea, it used to be called Ethiopian Ocean. So basically there's different theory and different people, theologians, who say that this continent, it was once called Ethiopia. If you read in the books, for example, in the Bible, you'll see you see Cush, you see Ethiopia, you see Ethiopia. This is a very old country that it has been there for many years. When you talk about Christianity, a lot of Pan-Africanists are arguing about this. Just the fact that you're Pan-Africanist, you're not supposed to believe in Christ or in God, or in Jesus. A lot of time we have these debates, but I'm different kind of Pan-Africanist, because I don't really like labeling myself. I'm different kind of that because I believe in Christ, I love Christ, and also love this continent. Both of them is possible. You know what I'm saying? But what we don't realize, that Christianity that we talk about in the continent today, and most of us, we think that Christianity was brought in the continent by colonizers, but you have to know that Christianity was already in the continent even before colonizers brought it here. So colonizers, they brought here their form of Christianity, but Africa already had Christianity even before they were here. And you can talk about Ethiopia, that's where it started. Long away, long before they came here. You can talk about the first human being on earth. was found in Ethiopia. You can talk about the coffee. It was first found in Ethiopia. You can talk about the country that we're not, the only country in Africa that were not colonized. You can talk about Ethiopia. They fought against Italians not once, not twice, and they won. They had different battles against different countries in the continent and outside the continent, and they won. So this is very, historically, this is very important country in the history of Africa, heritage and pride of Africa. You can talk about the Battle of Adwa, the symbol of black power, not only to Ethiopians, but to Africans. And that's why strategically, Ethiopia has been dismantled for so long time. The Westerners and all the stuff. Why? Because if you break Ethiopia, then you break the entire continent. All of the other countries, you know, there are fights. You can talk about OAU, the Organization of African Union. This organization, it was first started right there. Haile Selassie, Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Kambarage Nyerere, Kenyatta, and so many other founding fathers. That's why Ethiopia, strategically, it is the capital city of Africa. That's where the headquarters of African Union is. The organization that is supposed to be fighting for the unity of Africa is there in Ethiopia. Can talk about the richness of culture in Ethiopia. The culture in Ethiopia is crazy. It's amazing. It is because it's not diluted by the Western culture. It's purely African culture. If you want to experience that, something that is not mixed up with anything, go there. If you want to talk about the banks, in Ethiopia, you can never find foreign bank in Ethiopia because the system is really individualistic. The land is owned by the government of Ethiopia. Ethiopia, I would say, is one of the richest countries in Africa. Not necessarily because of the resources, because when you talk about the resources, you can talk about Congo. But in Ethiopia, the land, the buildings, everything are owned by the government of Ethiopia. What does that say? It says that Ethiopia really managed to keep everything by themselves. Yes, it has some challenges, but I applaud that because we want the system that it will be completely independent, that today, if you decide to cut your support to our countries, yet we'll still move forward because we are not fully depending on you. We can actually move our country by ourselves. Ethiopia, the electricity dam, the biggest dam in Africa that is going to produce electricity, that is not only going to support Ethiopia, but it will go to Kenya, go to other African countries. This country, they did not receive even a single dollar from anyone. The people of Ethiopia came together, contributed to the money to build that dam. This is the country that people always come together. I remember 2 years ago when they started with the No More movement. I remember how Ethiopia came together to fight against the Westerners and they won. This is the country that has always been in the winning side. This is the country that has always strived, that has always shined. This is the country that whenever I went there, I felt proud of being African. You can talk about the food. You can talk about injera. You can talk about tips. You know, you can talk about dorowat, one of my favorite food. Just as I'm talking about this, man, I wish I can eat right now this Ethiopian food, man. You can talk about people. You can talk about the beautiness, the kindness, the hospitality of the people of Ethiopia. This is you can talk about the diversity of the culture. Can talk about the music, one of my favorite things. You can talk about Teddy Afro. You can talk about Rofnan. You can talk about different artists from Ethiopia who are doing crazy things. Their music is amazing. More than 95% of the music from Ethiopia, they talk about Ethiopianism. They talk about Africanism. And then that little percent, perhaps they talk about, you know, love and other stuff and etc. But majority, they influence. If you meet Ethiopians, these are people who love their country with everything they got. Love their family with everything they got. Dedicating to give anything they can to their country with everything they got. But also, love their tribes with everything they got, to the point that they're willing to kill somebody else who is not coming from their tribe. Oh, okay. The direction of this conversation just changed right now. You did not see that coming. But that's what exactly I'm here today to talk about that.